Hello. I was just checking. Another day, another stream. Today we're going back to the source. Done a week or two of distractions, if you will. Playing with other things like Hacking the Remarkable, OBS, Message Pack. I've been using this laptop a little bit more during the streams and everything, and I really want to have my bar working. So I'm going to take it where it's at right now. I'm going to remove the stuff that's not working. I'm going to do a little bit of a very slight changes in code, and then I'm going to make a release build which has some optimizations enabled on the compiler, and then I'll use it. And while using it, I might just look into other things, and every time it just fails, crashes, or there's something that doesn't work, I'll just try to make it work. That's just the plan. I may actually run it in debug mode initially. So this is where we're at right now. We still have this thing sliding on the right there. I also think that if I just go like this, at some point it might actually cause some issues. I need to figure out. But because this actually opens a new Wayland surface every time. I've also added right before the stream, I've added a wallpaper back because I think I did something ages ago that deleted my wallpaper, but because it was loaded in memory in Sway, that didn't cause an issue. And as soon as I reloaded, obviously I caused an issue. I'll have this little bubble coming out there. That was just testing things like this. Other rendering methods that I could play with. The border rendering doesn't work anymore because I had to disable it for this thing, so I may just re-enable it the way it is. And then the rest seems to be working fine. There's nothing that happens when you hover on this. I will remove this one. It works, but it doesn't have like a lot of features, and it doesn't close and stuff like that. This one works just fine. That's probably the most worky one. Pause, play, it just works. And then this one is working as well. I need to figure out the interactions. It's interesting how my microphone is showing up as a speaker here. I wonder if the microphone legitimately has, like, it's registered as a speaker somehow. Well, I guess there is yeah, there is a thing at the back. So I wonder if it's actually a speaker, because there is a headphone jack at the back. So I wonder if that is something that you can plug in to get, I don't know. But yeah, so that seems to be working fine. So you can display the volume up, volume down. So we can leave it like that. Yeah, so I think first I'm gonna remove the floating thing there. And then we'll see where we go with that. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do first? I'm gonna run backup.sh because I haven't done it in ages. And I need to run it as sudo. Okay, just to be safe. I don't know if the music stopped. Interrupted system call, interesting. So I'm a little bit further away. I'm not super. Yeah, there's been a few weeks since I've touched this code base, so I'm not like super familiar. I kind of know where things are, but I'm not super familiar. Clock is going to be the first one. That should be an easy one to work out. So the idea here is that I actually added a second thing. There's a background, and then there's just an instance SSBO. And I create this SSBO there, called SSBO, yeah. And I set it as, I grab its index and I set it as the next index, and then I update all those values where I move it. Because I've just made a backup, I'll just go ahead and just delete those. Background is correct. Background does need to, yeah, sure, the clipping can be there. And I can delete all of this, and then just to be safe, I'll delete this as well. Let's see. It should be debug and bar. Right, so this should be a bit better now. There's another thing on the right, and it works just fine. Next, let me remove the the network widget in there, right? So that's main, and there's a place where I've got Wi-Fi in it, which I'm going to do that. And I think that's all I need to do in this instance, because it just registers itself. Yeah. So it's not there because it's not functional, and we're going to leave it be. Next, I want the border to come back, and that's going to be in my Uber fragment. Might actually not be in there. It might be in border pass. Okay, maybe it is in my Uber and I just disabled it. I called it pass here. First pass with border. Border color. So I merged the border. Stencil border pass is here. I just have a big old return at the top. This is actually not. This is not great as well. Like I know this is not great. Okay. Well, I didn't notice like my border one. Even when you don't set it, it still does something border wise. And I also know that my shaders, my GLS cells are not watched, so it doesn't rebuild. I realized that obviously I don't need to touch this one. I need to touch one that's legit. So now it recompiles, and now they're there. So now I can just switch between my workspaces, and they do get the stuff. They're not animated, but I'll just, for now, I don't really need that. So this is kind of what I want to have right now. I can unplug and it reacts to that. I can plug it back in and it reacts to that. So there's two ways I see this happening. So I'm gonna make a release build and then copy a version of it in /user/local/bin, and I can either make it an exec in Sway, or I can make it a systemd service. Now with systemd, there will be an automatic restart if it crashes, which could be useful because when it crashes, I kind of want it to restart as like a usable thing. But there's also something odd there, and my CPU is going up. My bar is at 16%, so that's not correct. There's something wrong going on. So I need to sort that out first. There's probably something that's triggering an update when it shouldn't, and my bet is on the clock. There you go. And to be honest, that's the thing, pause is not used either, which means I don't even need the entire update. So one thing that I'm not too sure about is very early on I had the bar working at 120 FPS, and I was rendering regardless of what the state was. I wasn't updating all the time. If I was updating all the time, I was rendering. And in my mind, I was like, well, if I optimize things properly and I'm not switching pipelines and things like that, although that's more of a GPU thing, should be fine, right? It's just sending a few commands to the GPU command buffer and saying issue the paint and synchronize. I realized that when I do that, I get about 10% to worse than that, like in that case 16% CPU usage. And when I did the flake graph and all that, it was something around the Vulkan AMD library, right? So I couldn't really look into why that was taking too long. And that was around the begin render and end render, so it's not something I could just remove as well. So I then implemented something that only does a render when something significantly updates. So this is where there's a needs paint, and the update happens all the time at like 120 FPS. I don't know if it happens at 120 FPS. I think it does happen at 120 FPS. And then in the update is when any widget that needs to be updated visually would mark itself as needs paint. And if any widget is marked as needs paint in that tree, then I do a paint pass or like a render, right? So when animations happen, then something changes, and for the duration of the animation, pretty much there's going to be 120 frame per second being rendered. When nothing happens, which is most of the time with the bar, it literally just does the update loop. Which obviously works and is a good optimization to have anyways, but at some point, if I ever want to have some kind of animation that constantly runs, like maybe my progress bars have some kind of Perlian noise based scrolling background that looks nice, it shouldn't take that much. So it's either a problem with this GPU driver, this specific thing, I don't know, but we have to sort that out separately. So I want to be able to catch when something goes wrong. So I don't think I'm going to make a build that has the debug symbols, no optimizations, and the address sanitizer. And I'm going to use that one. And I'm going to search systemd versus sway exec. You can configure to automatically restart it if it crashes. And it's just a bigger task to do. I'm going to make a systemd one just because today I've deployed this new model on my other machine, and I want to test it out. This is the Qwen 3 coder model. It's a 30 billion model with only 3 active at a time, which basically means it actually has 10 experts. So the full size of the node is 30 billion. You got 30 billion loaded in your GPU memory, but you also got a router, which probably also takes 3 billion, that then decides which model should be active. Actually, it might not be 3, but that means that there's only a 3 billion one that runs at a time. I think that's what it means. What's interesting is that the model size is, first of all, I quantized it all the way down to 4 bits. The model size is 17.2 gigs. My machine only has 8. So I've actually offloaded a bunch of that to the CPU. So the CPU runs the mixture of experts routing, as well as some layers of the calculation. And I was surprised that it still runs fairly fast. But you can see that I could get up to a max of this many tokens, but offloading to the type of offloading that I've done reduced it to 23k context length, which, depending on what you use, you can reach fairly easily. But here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to make a copy of bin, debug, and bar, and I'm going to put it into /user local bin bar. I'm not going to make a link because maybe I want to work on it while it runs, and that way I don't have to, it doesn't change and causes some issues. And then I'm going to grab this and say, I have a binary on Linux, this binary. I want to make a systemd unit file so that a service automatically starts and restarts the process if it fails. I am also interested in, I don't know why I just have these turn off phrases with AI, because I am also interested in, it's just probably not, I don't know, they're black boxes, but like, I should just be concise because I'm just wasting my typing. I want to keep the output and error log. What else do I want? The program relies on a Wayland socket to be a Wayland server to be running. Okay, let's do that. Because I wonder if it's going to do something. Oh, that was actually pretty fast. Usually it takes a bit longer to. Ensures Wayland is available is interesting. Environment, yeah, so it's just going to do this. But I'm not seeing anything that says, this just says, oh, graphical session, the target, I think is a good idea. I'm not going to set this environment there. Because that, first of all, this doesn't feel like Wayland. This seems correct, but I don't need that to be set. And Wayland display, yes, but it's going to be set anyways, I think. I will run it as my user. And I think that's all I need. So let's try that. nvim/etc/ so where does it say I should put it? Systemd system bar service. Now I don't know if I want to put it as a system thing or user. I'm going to put it as system for now. Okay, now I just need to change my username. Right, I am gonna remove, oh man, that's a bit annoying. Okay, interesting that I did sudo change the colors. Oh, because sudo is not gonna have my it's not gonna have my config. General bar service, working directory, sure. The thing is, I think I've hard-coded the full path to my files. Let's try that one. Daemon reload. And then just enable and start. I think I don't need to do bar.service. Yeah. Graphical session doesn't exist. Systemd dependency on Wayland. Really? I don't know, I'm seeing like the shiny new option that promises better. I mean, shiny new option, I'm pretty sure Wayland has been there for at least 10 years. And that was a year ago, so I don't know. Not too convinced. I'm going to start. Yeah. So I'm going to remove this graphical session target. Actually, you know what? Let's see how AI does. Multi-user, yeah. It still left a graphical session at the top, but it said multi-user target at the end. Let's do multi-user. Sounds like Maltesers. Multi-user. I'll keep using my my shortcuts for my own stuff. Yeah, okay. Requires an after. Right, so it doesn't seem to have started anything, if I'm being honest. Exited. I feel like the way it runs, it probably doesn't know. It can't find the probably can't find the Wayland session. So I think you do need that for the Wayland display at least. And xdg runtime, not sure, but let's try one at a time. But yeah, I think it would make sense that you may need this. I don't know actually. Okay, so how do I get the sudo journal ctl -u bar? Ah, interesting. Address initializer. xdg runtime is invalid. Where is xdg runtime used? Wayland. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so at least I understand that a bit better. Yeah, it does. It feels like it makes sense because some of the Wayland stuff that I use is xdg, right? Action train is invalid or not set in the. I wonder if it's one of those where I reload and I point to the restart. Oh wait, it's in the wrong order. So what is this one this time? Proxy get version as well. I feel like it's just not running under the right session. There must be something like that. W proxy get version. Create surface init. It doesn't do it when it initializes the thing. But I think what's going on is compositor create surface. It's when the compositor, I don't know actually, when the compositor, like this Prio 0, when I do p wayland init. I should have a much better management of all of these errors to start with. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is see if it is correct that I could do environment display. That is very X11. I'm the restart. I'm going to status, why not? Okay. And I'm going to do a journal-r. So it's reversed, right? I think that's the idea. And I can go at the top. Okay. All right. What if I do this? Sway config. And I know that somewhere in here, there's an exec right here. That's the one, right? So this one's going to be called bar. Okay. And I can do mod shift T. Right, and the bar starts, and now it's managed by Wayland. So I may actually keep it like that, because if the systemd stuff doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. I think it may be because I need to move it into user instead of system, which would make more sense. But yeah, so this actually restarts it, but I should have somewhere something on startup, which no, I don't think I have it. I think I put it on that key. So we're gonna like, oh, there you go, it crashed already, except that now I actually don't have the logs for it, which is where it's gonna be really annoying. I guess what I could do is redirect program output to file. I know it's like the pipe 2 and 1. Two and 1. I thought it would be in the other order. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. 2 and 1. And pipe it into a file. No, you can actually put it after. Okay. So the idea is that when I run this T thing, bar, yeah, I need to do this followed by go into a file which can be var. I can't do var log. It's going to be home poll slash bar.log, and then to this and 1. No. Yes. Okay. Reload. Unfull screen and T, right? And then now I should be able to okay, it's not printing anything, although I do know that in general it is supposed to print something. If I just do stuff, yeah, so that doesn't seem to have worked. Redirect std out, redirect std out to file to file, redirect std and std out to file. I find it odd that I can't find a clear answer. So this is what I did, right? File 2 caret and 1. Did I not rebuild after the last thing? Because my bar is eating 15% there, which it shouldn't. Okay. Text file busy. I need to find a way to kill it, because otherwise if I do this, I get a second bar. Is that going to be a good idea? Okay. Right, I try to do that, make sure it rebuilt it. Yeah, because when I ran it there, it did something, and I didn't change the source as far as I remember. You see here, it's supposed to print off this debug thing, and yet when I tail, there's absolutely nothing. And if I go here, okay, at least the bar doesn't seem to be eating everything now. It's just OBS. Could it be that, where am I? Here. Could it be that after exec, where do I put it every time? Why do I lose it? It's here. I wonder if this is actually like ignored by exec. No, because the file is created, but then nothing is outputted there. Sway bind sim redirect output. Let's see if that does anything. No, that's not what I want. No, that's not what I want. Okay, I get what this is, but that's not what I want. I need to try to run it locally normally and then see if it does anything. I got the bar here. I can do this. I can say home whole bar2.log. Right, if I do this and then I stop it and I cat, I got nothing. Okay, so could my program just does not do something if it's outputted to, let's ask. I have a program that outputs logs when I run it on Linux. Linux terminal. It outputs the logs when I use out.log to redirect log. The file is empty. I think there's a flushing thing going on probably. Line buffering is full buffering. Modify your program which does force a flush. I'm not really interested in forcing a flush every single time. Force line buffering. Don't think std buff -ol. Okay. Unbuffer t. Okay, but if I do t, is it going to write to the file? Now that's what I found really odd, is that I do t there and then it doesn't display anymore. If I run the program again, now I get a bunch of stuff. I think the problem is that I force all of my log has like a custom destination set to it, and it forces std out to it. Like I manually set std out, and I wonder if that could change the thing. So let's try again. I manually select std out and fprintf and use fprintf to output logs. Now it does say output buffering there, so I wonder that's okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go into my main bar here, and I'm going to manually output to a file. So this is going to be I'm actually going to put it straight up here. I want to put it there, and I'm going to say plog set file dest stream. What? Oh, I'm literally sending it there. And at the end, I shall not forget to close the stream. Right. Now we're going to recompile. Okay. And now I should be able to say cat/home/po/bar.log, and there's still nothing. Now I guess the other one is also writing to it, so that could be an issue. So still nothing. Am I writing it to the right place? I'm on debug, home poll bar log, home poll bar log. Well, that's confusing because I've used that before and that was never an issue. So maybe there is a legit buffering issue. Like if I do stuff and you know it kind of moves around. There's something that prints listen and nothing in there. What prints listen? I do have a lot of, the word listen is there quite a lot. Server.h. Oh yeah, because I've got a shortcut to cycle through different things. I'm not going to print listen. Okay. Right, I need to figure this out because I this logging system that I have in place should be working just fine. I've used it for ages. The level is set. I'm not sending to std out, which I can see it's not sending to std out, and I'm setting the thing to bar log. Let me see if I can delete the file. What happens if I do that? I'm also going to rebuild since I just deleted some stuff. It's running. I stop it. I cat. Nothing. The file is created, but there's absolutely nothing being sent. I am absolutely floored. See, there's a destination stream there. And set dest sets the destination. Set file dest as a f open in write mode. Set the dest. Now I'm not checking for the null, so I'm just gonna add a thing here that says yes, you've been writing. Yeah, okay. So I think it's working. Let's try some of that. So I don't want to do flush. What was the previous solution there? Unbuffer. Which doesn't exist. What's the other one? std buff. Okay. -ol. And then I can do bin debug bar. Of course. Oh, if you're going to do that, then the address sanitizer is not going to work because I feel like this is just going to register its own like LD preload or something like that, right? Expecting something simple, but I'm a little bit confused. Okay, so let's do a few more things. So let's summarize. Run the bar, everything's fine. I get no logs, as I'm expecting no logs, because I said send the logs to this file. Okay. Yet, when I check the contents of the file, it's empty. So this is quite likely some buffering stuff. So I can either I'm gonna try to manually flush it. Let's try to manually flush it to verify there's some buffering. So I'm gonna do that, and it's not gonna be great because this is here. I'm gonna do a flush, right? Dest stream. I think that's all I need to do. I need to do for flush. Okay, so it's literally that. It's literally this flushing thing, which is odd because I've used that before and I've never had a flush issue. And obviously, if I just say die to my program, it won't flush, right? It's not going to flush the last bits of things. So I'm actually going to keep it there to like force the flush in this thing. I guess it makes sense to say, well, actually, if you're going to use that for logging, you should probably flush immediately, because you don't want that to not be flushed, have a crash, and have nothing. So we're going to do that, which means I rerun this, which is fine, and then I just need to do a I'm going to copy that into my system, that new version, and I should be able to just do my shortcut, which starts it, and then I should be able to do a tail-f bar.log. Yeah, and I should be able to do this, and then it works. Okay, so now I'm going to let this run and use it as, this is a tool that I've made and I want to use, and I'm going to find something else to do, and as I do that other thing, when it crashes, then I jump back and go, okay, let's see why it crashed and things like that. Because the problem, if I restart right now, it's just gonna it's not gonna reuse the same, it's gonna use a different file, which actually makes me think that I should probably just, like, on startup, maybe read the time and just create a log file per every time it restarts, because if it dies and then I hit restart, then it's going to overwrite the file. So I'm just going to do that. And I already forgot how to do get time. That's not a real thing. C get time, because I'm just going to do get time. So it's just time, except that if I do mine time here, I'm going to get the wrong thing. I want mine 2 times. Yeah, so time.h returns the time as the number of seconds this epoch. So why do we have a tlock? Tlock is a non-null. If tlock is non-null, object value is also stored in the memory pointer. Okay, super simple. So I time t, literally call time, and then you're good to go. Yeah, it's that. So to do that, I just need to go to the bars main, and this is the file that I'm going to open. So right before that, I'm going to say time t equals time. No. And this is going to have a time t, which is right here. Really? It's just going to be a number of whatever since. So I'll just need to sort them by that number and I'll be fine. Okay, so then I just need to open a file with that in there, which is going to require me to do a char file buff. I know there's like a max path that I could use, but let's just not do that. sprintf file buff. Let's do this. And I'll say bar underscore %d, and it's going to correct me when I do the wrong one. T. Yeah, and then finally I can do file buff. Okay. Now I'm going to kill the current bar just for the sake of it. Run. Regional T. Okay. Interesting that it did not tell me that. It did tell me that. Current time. Okay, now I can kill it, and if I look at this, I should have bar log. Okay, great. Another copy, a Command Shift T to restart it, and now we're running. So let's do something else now. I want to do I want to make a single header file. Ooh, almost fell again. This chair. Why did I have it work last time? What I need is something back there, like a piece of wood. This should be better now. I want to have a file called test.h that I can include in a translation unit, maybe define a implementation header, implementation define, which would then implement the thing. And then that would give me a bunch of things that I can use to write a test runner for a project. So the idea is that I want to have a test runner that loads my compiled stuff or something like that. Every project that I have, if I want to test something, I can just have an entry point for that test, and I can use the tools provided for that. And the thing is, I do have the beginnings of something like that. I've got like this idea of like a suite that has a list of tests with a state that I keep, and I even have some asserts and things like that. But this was like my first attempt, and I want something a little bit better. And I'm going to take a different approach today. Today, I'm going to try to do first the interface of how I want to use it, and then see if I can implement it that way, and if it's possible. I'm thinking about things like, do I want to have uppercase asserts, lowercase asserts, and things like that. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to go back to my normal thing, workspace, and I'm going to do test runner. Right. It's crazy to be this lazy. Okay. New main.c. I'm going to start with the main.c. We'll see where I go from there. What I would like to have is something where I can say int main, or actually no, something where I could say there's two approaches that I could have. This one, int argc char argv, and then there will be something like test parse cli argc argv, right? And then test run or yeah, test run or something like that, right? And then what that would also contain is, here I would have a suite that I can call something foo, and maybe there's like something like this, and this syntax is not really something you can usually achieve, but like this would be a macro that maybe would work. And then in here you would have a test called blah, which maybe you just say the name of the function, so test underscore blah, and then that function will be there, int test blah, and it does something there, right? That could be a thing. Now, just to test it out, I'm going to have a define suite, which takes a x, what's called name, and a expression. I think that's how it works. And this just declares something like struct suite, like this, dot name equals name, dot fn equals expr. That's not really how it works, but how would I do that? Tests, yeah, that's how I would do it. Tests equal and struct test array, and here we put the expression. right? So let me see. So this is actually giving me 2 of the brackets. So then I have 2 options. Either I just remove those, but no, or I just remove these, in which case I say you have to provide a thing. So this expands to this. So first of all, I don't think I'm going to need this. And this expands to struct suite, yeah. So the only problem that I have with this is I may need to do something like this instead. Add suite. Because this looks kind of correct. The only thing I'm missing obviously here is going to be define test with, actually this is not going to be defined, it could literally be a function, but I'm going to say test name fn, which is literally going to be struct test dot name dot fn. I'm going to do that, and then just so we can get going, struct test struct suite const char pointer name const char pointer name. Don't know why I'm struggling with this one. I just realized that this probably needs a star here instead. No, I'm going to keep it like this. And this is going to have a struct test pointer tests. And this can have a void star fn, just for now. Right, so now I've got something that should in theory work. Now if I go here and I do this, now because add suite is outside the function, I may need to put it inside here, right? And add suite doesn't exist, which makes sense, but the syntax is correct. Now I would like to quickly look at what I did for the other one, because I remember finding something that actually worked a little bit better. So I can define a test main, which when I do that, run tests is completely defined outside of that, and then I have a custom main function defined. So I like that. I might just do that. And run tests is just a function I define out there. So test main is going to be this like thing, and then x, inside x I do need to provide the brackets, which I think makes sense. And for the suite, the only thing that happens is I create a local suite and a list of tests, and then I just calculate the size, and then I say current suite name is equals not, so name PS. Okay, so this is just a question, I will run it when it's ready. So this is actually not that bad, but I don't want to rely on it too much because I want to think about it in a fresh way. So I am going to do what I like is this, define I don't think I want to create a suite because it's kind of like a main, but it's going to be a test main. And what test main is going to be a few things. A void run tests with the expression just slapped in there. So I'm expecting the user of that macro to provide the curly braces themselves. And then I'm going to have an int main, int argc char star star argv. And I'm just going to do this for now, right? So here, instead of int main, I'm going to use test main. And in there, I'm going to provide what I need. That's where I'm going to put my suite. I think that's the interface that I want. that's not super well formatted, and I realized that it might actually cause some issues with the formatter is not gonna like that, so maybe I need something that works a little bit better. I mean, how well do it otherwise? Otherwise I will just provide like a start and an end to it. What does it feel like if I was to actually put that in brackets here? I kind of want this formatter to not change some stuff. So here, I would then have to remove this. So this is going to be, obviously add suite is going to be missing the semicolon, and add suite doesn't exist. Okay, so this is not terrible, and I can add multiple suites without the comma between them. It's just that with macros you can do some nasty stuff, and this goes beyond like the normal C syntax. And do I want to embrace the thing and say, hey, let's go crazy and say our test thing uses also syntax that you have to learn, although it's just the top level. I could use like variadic arguments. I could do like a ... so that there's a bunch, and that way I can put all the suites like that one after the other. I think it would actually look pretty good. So let me see here. Oh, so ... I think that's how it works. And that way it does expand to the same thing. Maybe add suites is something that just runs and returns nothing, but it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing that in the end it does this weird unless I use the VA args properly. I think that wouldn't be a terrible thing. So how to use VA args in C. So you got VA start and you say where you want to start. So you make a list. You start the list by saying after what do you start it, and then VA args is going to return to VA arg is the thing you need to do. Okay, so let's try that then. I'm going to have a void run tests. This is a lot of like API design right now. Okay. Oh, you always need a parameter. That's annoying. Int dummy. Okay. VA list args. And VA init, is that what it is? VA start. And it's going to be args and after dummy. Okay, and I'm going to do a VA end args. Is it how it works? VA end. Okay, and then when I do this, then I do also you provide the parameters. Count args. Oh, I don't want to. What's count args? VA list get number. No, VA list get number. Oh, macro to count the parameters. Printf is not what I'm looking for. How do I just like iterate through them? That's the question, because I mean, I guess what printf does is just go through its own thing and make it work. Could I just loop until I get null? Like man VA arg. Expands to an expression that has the type and value of the next argument in the call. The argument AP is the VA list AP initialized by VS start, yes. Each call to the arg modifies AP so that the next call returns the next argument. The argument type is a type name specified so that the type of pointer on the object is specified, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The first use after start returns the argument after last, correct. Successive invocation return the values of the remaining arguments. If there are no next argument, or if type is not compatible with the type of the next argument, random errors will occur. Man, I wish I was getting null instead. If AP passed to a function that uses VA arg, then the value of AP is different. Okay. C macro count args. Yeah, that's what I wanted to avoid there. Alright, let's think about something else then, because that's not what I want. I do like the idea of VA args, but having to count them is the problem. Yeah, that really is the problem. Although the reality is, if I was to use... Yeah, okay, let's just ignore that. I don't want to go this way. It just seems to be a little bit too problematic. So test main is going to be this, and it's going to feel like you're passing a variable amount of items, and I think I'm going to do the same thing with a suite, to be honest. That way, you don't really need to worry too much about that. You can delete this and this, right? So the syntax is going to be like this, I guess. And then you got a suite with one or more items. Now this, and the formatter is going to fuck it up for me. I don't know how. I'll stop it from doing that. So the only thing that I'm missing is add suite, which, to be honest, I may. The reality is I kind of probably need to just run it. And I think I'm going to do something similar to the other one, which is add something here. And then do struct suite equals this. Okay. That's what I need. And then that's fine. So these can be added as expression there. And then the only thing that I'm missing is suite dot tests length is equal to size of suite dot tests divided by size of struct test. I think that's all I need. And obviously I need to finish it up. Right, so let me do that. So this is where things get a bit suspicious usage on the pointer type. Yes, but not really. Because I did it with the other one. I guess because I store there, so I should probably just do that instead. Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm not going to put a test in here. I'm going to stop it right here and then do struct test array tests equals, and then this expression there. And then I can do suite.tests equals tests and then calculate the length there. Okay, so that's a bit of a and then here I don't need to do this, I can just do tests, and then there's no test length. That's because I can just test length and size t. Right. That's what it's going to look like. return 1. Brackets are not allowed here. I don't know why you're printing that right there. That's just a bit dumb. So the idea that my main function in this header file there is gonna I'm almost tempted to do something even simpler in that I could not store them and just run them as they come. So like suite would just hello. Let me check something. Okay, still running. We are working on your test runner, not really a test runner, just a bunch of utilities to just run tests. I had something like that in the bar, but I realized that this is something that I'm going to want across almost everything, but I don't want to make it too generic. And I'm in between two places right now. Do I have a state, which I have right now, like in that little test bench? Got a test with a name and a function. I got a suite that I can have multiple tests in it and a name. And when the program executes, it collects all of those and then runs. Or do I just use a bunch of macros and the definition of the test is also the execution of the test? Let me see, because there's another syntax that I could use which would be probably a bit better. I could do this and say here's a suite, and then everything that's there is a test, blah, with a function test, blah, right, for example. And then I can just have a bunch of them, right? These are all my tests, and it only changes when I switch suites. Now we're in a different suite. And it's a bit different because like it doesn't have the syntax of like encapsulating. I actually don't really mind. And if I do that, then it's fairly easy to just kind of mock it up. The only thing I would need to do is to define them inside a main, because I need a main. And for that, I guess the other problem that I have is that I can't actually put them across different files. So either each file that I create is going to be like it's its own entry point, and you run them separately, or this does have to like register it globally, and then there's a main function that runs it. Or do something a little bit stupid, which is going to be, run tests, and then you're going to have something like that. You're going to have something like that. And then you're going to finish it there, right? And that would have like the suites and everything. And then that's it. Actually, I'm really not upset with that. I actually like that. Let's just use that. So I'm going to have a test main, which will have all of these in there. There you go. And this is just going to be annoying because I feel like the format is going to try to do something funky with it. Yeah, obviously. I wonder if it's not going to try to do something odd once I have them defined. Which, to be honest, I'm going to make them smaller. Sweet. And test. Now they exist, and that's the difference there is that I'm going to remove this, mark that as a expression, and put the expression right there. And then finally, switch is going to be so much simpler. in that it's literally gonna say current name equals name, and there's no expression. Oh my goodness, there's so much there. There's too much white space. Okay. And then the test is going to be super simple in that current test name fn. Right. It's really dumb. And current name doesn't exist because it doesn't exist, but current name is going to be a extern const char pointer current suite name. I'm going to put current suite name and current test name. This is going to be suite. So this works now, and this expands to int main, set the current suite, set the current name, call the test function, and then set the next suite, which does nothing. And actually calling the test function, inside there, I'm gonna have my assert, and an assert may call like a fail function, and fail will just simply print, which is basically print and say you're finished, right? I think that's like super simple, but like how you define your suite and your test is quite nice. If you could literally put those into their own file, and then in here you would just do, I know this is a bit odd, but this, and you would say, you know, test/001.h, right? You can't put a include into a macro, so that fucks my whole thing up. I could change it and basically do something like this. Int main. I think I'll do that. I think it's better. argc int argc char argv. Do this and do this, right? Now with this, I can do the include inside, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so that seems to work. It really doesn't like that these are just macros. It really wants to change that syntax. It's so annoying. What if I do this? Okay, I may have to put the semicolon, even though I don't need it, but maybe I'll leave it out, because they're not function, they're just macros. And then this will just need to do something like this, which is going to be test CLI parse, or test init with argc and argv. Now the thing that I wanted to do with this test init with argc and argv is that it could actually get arguments from argc and argv, and if there is a name that matches or doesn't match, that it would just like not run them. So I think that what that means is this test with test blah and suite and whatever means that I probably need to say, when I do test here and in here, right, this fn is going to be in a bunch of conditions that says if the current test name is not in the list of things that should run, or if the current suite is not a thing, then don't run it. And I think that's probably works. What I cannot do with that, or maybe I can count the suites, and I can I can do the correct thing there. What I cannot do that easily is maybe some ASCII thing in the terminal, which I am gonna do. I want to have like this little tree thing. You have a suite and there's a line, and each item is going to be a test, and the last test is going to have the elbow instead of the thing that continues. And there's two ways to do that, as I remember. It's like you either count the characters you're printing on the terminal, and then you can use some special things that allows you to move the cursor in the terminal, which I found to be flaky if you don't go into like direct mode, or like there's a special mode where you can change it. Or you could just not print the test result immediately and only print when the next test comes in or the next suite comes in. So you just buffer that last line or like that last result that you want to print, and you change that first character right before printing it. And we just need to remember that like right before it finishes, like at the end, we also need to do that. So we might need to do like a test end or test whatever. With that being said, let's just do it. I'm not going to do test init right now, but let's just do that. So the only thing that I need to do is when I do suite like that, I not only set the suite, but I also want to do printf and something really dumb or really simple, current suite name. It's very simple. Include stio. Now test is going to be kind of the same thing, but test, the idea is that the test should return. So do I want to make that's one here would be like it failed, but I kind of want an implicit version of that. So I could either do something really dumb and have a global go-to, but then I can't run the test even when they fail, so I don't want to do that. Or I could wrap this, or just have a global. I'm gonna have a global global state, to be honest. So actually this is going to be my difference there, and static const jar current suite name. These need to exist. I'm not going to make static actually. Right, and then I'm going to have a bunch of state stuff like bool, test passed, it doesn't find bool automatically. All right, let's do that. Okay. And then that way I can just figure if it passed or whatever. I just need to do something. I just need to prepare some stuff. So this is where it gets a bit interesting for me. Define, and this is what I want. Define ASSERT. And before I'm going to do that, I'm going to say how do I want to. So I'm going to do ASSERT. And I think that ASSERTs exist. So maybe I want to put it all uppercase. Like it's in the C library, right? And what does it do? It's a conditional statement that evaluates to either true or false. If the expression evaluates to false, the assert function triggers an assertion failure leading to termination of the program. But I kind of want to do, like, does it do the exit one? I mean, I guess if I'm running some tests, then I shouldn't clash with assert. But like, if one of the thing that I'm testing uses assert.h, and I'm defining something called assert, then that could cause an issue. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to say big assert, although it would have been nice, a small one. And we're going to do assert, and I'm going to say true, and that doesn't exist. So assert, what am I doing? Define assert with an expression, and for now it's just going to copy the expression, which is super dumb. Also want something like assert equal, and the reason I don't do that because technically I could just say assert equal and then just leave it there, but here I'm going to say this, right? A B. Actually, this is going to be expected got. This feels like you could just get this one with this one, but the whole point of the assert in this library is that it's going to give you a detailed explanation of like where it failed in an instance. So this doesn't have expression there. So this is going to be if A is different from B, right? Here we're going to do test passed false, just for this, to get it working, and then printf, and this is where I kind of want to have a thing that says test failed and whatever, but let's just start with something. Let's say failed ... space expected this is where I had an issue before, because all of my assertion with the equality and stuff like that, I needed to start typing them because my because I couldn't print. I could use dynamic and just have a series of prints, and depending on the type of A and B, it could then support it with a single thing. Or I could just not evaluate again and just say %s got %s. And the trick here is going to be to say expected, hashtag expected, and hashtag got, right? And probably don't need this at the end. And probably need this here. B, so of course got and expected. Right. Now I kind of want to get started on running this. So run test with main.c. And run test, it says foo, and it says failed, expected true, got false, because it's printed like that, right? But what you can start doing is 2 = 4, and obviously I didn't recompile it, and this doesn't do anything. It says bar, it goes to the next one, because the test passed. Why didn't it print bar last time? It said got false, and then it stopped. It didn't print bar. Well, it should actually go into bar. Do I do an early test pass false? No. I'm not sure why. But yeah, this time it didn't do anything. But like if I said 2 = 2, which is true, then when I print it, I actually get a piece of the code there. Like it doesn't reevaluate it, which is quite nice, because when you run tests like that, you may want to have something that's like the name of the variable that you were checking against, and usually the first parameter, which is going to be the expected, is going to be just a final static value, where it's like a number or a string or something like that. And obviously this equal there is going to use the equality comparator. You're probably going to have a string equal and things like that. But that's a good starting point, and I'm going to fluff that thing up and just start with just the display. I want to get something that's a bit better. So for that, well, actually, let me set up the delayed or buffered display first, because I want to do that. And also I just need to make sure that this does this. I'm going to say suite this with colon. All right, and then here it's going to be test, and I forgot that I also got the name of the test that I could print. So %s with this, and we're going to say how am I going to do this? If it fails, how should I print it if it fails? I'm just going to say fail ... maybe put a space in between each. expected this or this, right? I almost want to do this thing, which, because maybe some of the tests are going to take some time. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do asynchronous tests. Don't know how I'm going to do that, because if I need to communicate with another thing, I have no idea. But like, I could do a thing where it says ... then the result, and then maybe the error underneath. I think that's probably a bit better. So I'm going to do test ... fail, line return, and then expected this got this. Let's see how that works to start with. So sweet food, test 2 equals 2, fail. So actually that doesn't seem correct. Oh, it's because I'm missing one here, which is current test name. Test blah, fail. So I'm going to put another space here to make it look better. And then it goes to sweet and all of that. So the only thing I need is add those like ASCII terminal blocks, or whatever the name is. Box drawing character. What's the thing blocks in this box? And I need this one. And I probably actually need this one instead. Might even put a space here, see how it looks like. Let's see. That looks short. Like, is there like a long version? Or do I need to like add another one like this? Oh, this one is a bit to the left, and this one has a space. Let's see. Am I missing one? No. Let's try that. Yeah, so this probably adds a bit of length. It looks really far though. Ah, yes. So it's actually 2 characters, these. So this looks a little bit better already. I do want something that just stops it at the end, and maybe have more spaces. So like when you start a switch, you should have like an extra space at the beginning. So I'm probably going to do an extra space here. Might add colors. So that looks already better. There's nothing in the sweet bar, but that's just something I can't do. I don't really like the uppercase, but that's just how this is. Bar. This is already looking better. And then I do want this to be maybe to have one here, one here, and have like a long line here instead, one that takes 2 instead of 1, and a space. See how that looks like. Right. I don't know if this is really the look that I want there. I think I may want to just have the 1 vertical bar. See how that feels. Maybe 2 spaces. Okay, that's much better. Now, if this was the last one, it would be, well, it is the last one, it would be a bit odd. But let's see. I can duplicate it. That's a bit better. I think that's okay. I may have the fail and the okay in different colors. We'll see how that feels. Maybe something that differentiate test and blah, or I don't know. Maybe underline some of them. And then I do want to have that thing that just says, just change that 1 prefix character. I think what I may want to do is to say, have like a custom print function that just prints the 1 outcome of a test. And what it would do actually is put the data in a buffer, and then when I actually go about printing the next one, it would go and print the previous one and use the correct tree characters before actually printing it. Because there could be multiple lines in there. Actually, the lines don't really... Do the lines really matter? It does, because if I want to add something at the beginning of a line, that's a bit of an issue. So maybe what I do is have a buffer that has a maximum width in characters, and that's in a array of buffer that has a maximum number of items in it, right? And I don't think I'd expect more than 2 lines per. Like, is it possible that I would want to, I mean, if I'm printing a string in there that has like line returns, it would be really long and it would break the thing. So maybe what I should do instead is just actually work through, iterate through the buffer, find all the line return characters, and for each of those substrings, print them, and then put the right prefix. Like, say, are you the last one? If you're the last one, do that. Okay, so let's just do that. I'm gonna make a static void print. I'm gonna go test print, and I'm gonna have a char buffer of a big number, but it's not that much. It's a big number, but it's not that much. And the only thing that test print does, and actually I do need a char star buffer position. Can I do this? Yes. And the only thing I should do here is sprintf. So this is where it's odd because I kind of want to print, but I guess I don't need to do it here. I can just put it in here. So instead of printf, it's going to be sprintf. And I'm not going to put those little characters. The only thing I want to do is, this one is indented slightly. So I'm going to do that. And sprintf needs to go into buffer, which is going to be this global one. I don't know if having a thing called buffer globally, I mean, if I make it static, that could work, but the problem is that all these asserts that I have, they're going to be problematic. So instead, I'm going to go back to what I was doing, which is going to be test print, and I'm going to make it const char format and dot dot dot. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Void, right? And I do need to do then a vs printf, which is gonna get the VA list and stuff like that. So what I need to do is, as we've looked at earlier, a VA list AP, they call it AP, VA start AP FMT, and here VA and AP. Okay, you get buffer format AP. I think that's how you do it, and I also think that is very quiet. So if I do that, then I should be able to do test print, which I should probably rename to something else, but then lets me add stuff to the buffer the way I want it. Now, the only thing that's missing here is that I should have a flush previous buffer, which is going to be void flush previous buffer, and then I can say if buffer pause is different from, actually if it's the same as buffer, there's nothing in the buffer, return. Otherwise, we're going to do a just for testing fprintf, or just a printf, to be honest, printf and %s, and no line return because I put the line returns in there, buffer. After that, we're going to do a memset buffer 0 size of, and to be honest, I could do buffer pause minus buffer, which is going to be the size, right? And then finally, buffer pause equals buffer, reset it. The only thing I need to do here actually is buffer pause, because that should write to where the buffer is, and to me it's going to return how many it moved. So buffer pause plus equal this. So I'm going to move it across. Now test print, so that means that every time I call test print, it could flush from the previous one. Now here, that means that if I only have one and I do run, it doesn't print anything. If I have two and I run, it prints one with the missing stuff. Great. So the only thing I need to do is suite, current suite name. And here I'm going to say, I need a is last test, right? I need this. And this one, test print, is going to be false. And here, right before printing, I'm going to do flush previous buffer true. Now I don't know if that's actually the name. Yes. If I do this, I get them both, right? And it prints sweet foo, sweet bar, and it does everything. Great. Now, although I don't know what this, because I put a line return there, so it should have printed the line return. Don't know why there's no space here. I'll have to see about that. Okay, so this seems to be working. The only thing that I'm missing now is to say if it's the last one, like I need to like go through and print them the right way. And for that, we're going to use strtok, which is not going to give me the null terminated strings, but it's going to give me the, I can find the length and it's going to work. So here, I need to start with buffer and line return. And that should return to me. Wait, did I do the wrong thing? Divide S into token separated by character dlim. And that gives me the token. I need a pointer to this. I think it lets the, yeah, the delimiter can be actually a chain of stuff. Okay, so this gets this, and then you do a while something, and then you do token equals strtok null with the line return. So when you set it to null, it just continues the previous one because it has a an internal thing. But there's a reentrant version, strtok, which gives you a state, a safe pointer that you can then repass, so that you can have multiple strtok running concurrently. So my thinking there, this is going to be a token every time. So this will find the first one. It's not just an init, it will find the first one. So here we can say while token. So if it doesn't find the first one, it doesn't do anything, because it means I didn't put any line return. Although if I didn't put any line return, you should probably still print the rest, but I'm going to assume that every single time I use this, the last thing in the buffer is going to be a line return. Now what this means is that right here, if I do buffer, if I do token minus buffer, that's going to be the length of where I'm at in the string. But I also need a char star last token, or I'm going to get cursor, which is going to be buffer initializer. So now if I do token minus cursor, that's the string I need to print as the 2 pointers, which I should be able to do with sprintf, no, with printf, with the special format being dot star s, that's the length, and that's at the cursor. That's what I print. And to be honest, no collection really. Field position int. I mean, realistically, it's never going to be anything else than this, but because my pointers are 64, then that's going to. So this should do the exact same thing, except that it may actually not print the line return. Correct. So it did the same thing, but didn't print the line return. And actually, it also didn't print the remainder of, because what I'm printing there, I say expected and got, but those were not printed. So it looks like it just stops after the first one. It says fail, and then I do the second test. Just to be super clear, I'll put a 2 here. Yeah. So just to get started, I will print this +1 because I want the actual token. That's interesting. So I may actually do cursor. Oh, I never moved the cursor. Cursor equals token. Let's see. That's going to print something twice. Okay, I'm not sure about that. What about cursor -1 here? Because I do want the previous one. Although cursor -1 is not going to work because of the first time I do it, it's going to cause an issue. Realistically, if token is the actual pointer to the item and I do this minus, then I should print the right amount of things. And I may want to do token +1 because I've already printed the token itself. Well, all of my theories are wrong because test disappeared there. Okay. What about token? Yeah, that's odd. So I'm printing from cursor and I'm printing this many items. I really think I should be printing +1 in here. And I've got a double T, and here I should do token -1. Or actually I should do token +1 as well. So it does the same thing, but where is my line return? Where is my line return? What if I do +2? It's not there. Does strtok modify? I think it might. On the first call, the string to be passed should be specified in string. Each subsequent call can be null. The dealing specifies set. Each call strtok returns a pointer to a null automated string containing text token. It modifies the string. So actually what that means is I don't need to do the length because it does it for me. And I just need to print token, which is the string up to the item. And I can re-add this myself. And I might not need a cursor for all that stuff. Okay. I don't think I need a cursor for this, because that thing is literally made for that. So now I need to do this like is last test. If it is the last test, I should add one character, or if it is not, I should add the other one. And I think it's going to be as simple as 2%s and say, oh, that's going to be a problem because I need like the test line, then a bunch of stuff, and then the rest. So I think what I need to do here is to say one bool is first line true, and here if is first line false. Now do I want to just do a bunch of printf and assume that the flushing is efficient, or do I just want to construct the best prefix? Let's do it here. Const char star prefix, and here I'm going to print the prefix. If it's the first line, I should set the prefix to, and this is where I grab my stuff again. So it was this one, and then I wanted the one that does like half plus a space. That looked pretty alright to me, so that's what I want. So if it's the first line, I want to do that. Else, then you're gonna get so there's the first line, and also if it's the last, so here is going to be if is last, no, okay, I've got multiple things. There is like, is it the first line and is it the last line? And to know if it's the last line is because this is going to be null. So here I can say it's null, but then if it's null, I don't really know if the next one is correct. I need this like double token thing. So I need token, and I need char star next token equals null to start with. And actually, I need to literally go here and do this, which is going to be next token. And at the end, I say token equals next token. So now at the top of the loop, I know immediately that if it's null, I know I'm at the last thing. So here I can say if there is no, if next token is null, and then I can do else. There you go. So if the next token is null, the prefix is going to be the little elbow one, right? And this is what's going to be odd because, yeah, I need to figure out. I need to try it, see how it looks like, and then change it, because I'm just trying to render it in my head, and I'm like, I'm not liking how it looks like, and we'll see after that. So if it's like the last test, and so that's the thing I need to do. If it's the last test, no, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to put it right here. Okay, I'm just messing up the stuff. Okay, let me put it clearly in my mind. If it's the first line, this is going to be like the title of my test. And if it's the first line and let me just do it properly. Actually, this is last test. So if it's the last test, do that. Otherwise, I do this because there's going to be more. And if it's not the first line, then I just want to have the prefix be just the vertical one. That doesn't do anything. With a caveat that if it's the last test, I need to change it. So I need to, I'll get it right. We'll do last, we're going to do a big branch at the top if it's the last test. And then finally, we're going to have something like this and this. The problem is like I need to check for first line in two places, but I also need to have a different behavior in both places as well. So I'm gonna have to do this really odd thing, because if it is the last test, I only need to check the first line. If it is not the last test, then obviously I'm gonna check it. But if it's the first, if it's the last, if it's the, because the line goes down this, I want to stop on the title. I don't want to draw more because the suite is going to start another one, but I still want to draw the rest without the prefix. The prefix is going to be like an empty string by default, otherwise that's going to be a bit odd. So if it's the last test, let me just do the dirty one then. If it's the last test and it's the first line, I want this. Otherwise, it's the last test and nothing. Otherwise, nothing. Okay, and I'm going to unfortunately have to do this, which is it's not the last test, in which case I want these two in here. What am I doing? Of course, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, what the fuck is going on with me? Yank this, paste it here. There we go. So if it's the first line, you want to do this one, and otherwise, right, there's this thing that I don't like with the managing the flip-flop state. Okay, I got something wrong with my fingers. Why can't I do the code that I want to do? The one thing I don't like is that this resetting here, because there's this one at the top, but that should be fine. Let's try that. Okay, so we're close to what I want. I'm probably going to want to yank this one character and paste it right here. So that's much better, okay. And then I just don't want this extra elbow. And I think the extra elbow is because it's not reset on every turn. So instead, I'm just going to do something a little bit silly. But I'm going to actually put two characters, 20 characters, so they're all aligned properly. Okay, except that for some reason that does not work. Do I want to put the two empty characters? Yes. So here's going to be the default value. I don't know what this one is like more than the other one. Which is the last. It's the last line, it's empty, otherwise you get a line here. I don't know why this one's got so much more space here. I wonder if it's because these are actually kind of like smaller than one width. But I'm using a I'm using a monospace font, so that should not be an issue. What am I going to do with this? Why do I have an extra space here? Ah, it's not that I have an extra space, it's that this one has one less. Okay, that does look like a lot, and it's also due to the fact that I'm adding extra space here. So I'm just gonna remove it and let the layout do its thing. And this still looks a bit too close, so I think I'm just gonna say that by default, these get an extra indentation space. And this can be nothing. Okay, happy with that. We'll see about colors another time. I don't know about another time, but okay. Now I know that there's a bug in that if right now the last thing is a suite, but if actually I put a test at the end, it's not going to print that last test. So it's going to be there, but it's not going to print it. And it's because there's nothing at the end that just says, finish it. So I'm gonna have to do test end, which is kind of annoying. But I guess that's just the way it is. Void test end. And the only thing this does is literally flush previous buffer true. And if I do this, then it works, right? So I've got this suite there. And so next is, do I want to have an other level before suite, or is this okay? I think this is okay. Okay, next I want I want a global state which says uin32t total suites, total tests. Okay, and then at the end, in test end, I guess it's useful, I want to do a printf, and I kind of need to count like how many were successful, I guess. But for now, I'm not going to do that. Run %d suites, run %d tests in %d suites. And I called it total suites and total tests. Total suites, total tests. Right. Run 0 test in 0 suites. Correct, because I'm not incrementing them. All right, so here is going to be total tests plus plus. This is where I'm going to want to maybe start having functions to do the work in these in those there. Realistically, this could definitely be a function instead of a macro, but and then this is going to be right there. Let's start with that. Run 0 tests in 5 suites. I'm probably going to not displaying the right things in the right order here. Tests, suites, and I just need to make sure I increment the suites. Small symbol. So my bar is not crashing. Like I was expecting it to have some issues. Obviously I'm not interacting with it, but it's still like when I'm changing workspaces like that, something happens. It is still monitoring like the volume changing and the media thing. I can pause and play. So that's pretty good. Run 3 tests in 2 suites. I may want to have a little line return before that one, so it's a bit, yeah, I like that. I want to add like, instead I'm going to say number of tests passed over number of total tests, number of suites passed over number of total suites, and then the time, how long it took to run. I don't know if I should do that right now, because I'm starting to think that I may want to use a structure to hold the global state instead of putting everything in the global state, because all those names that I'm putting in the global state, so either I need to have everything in functions that I put in my header, because all of these asserts need to access that global state, because these asserts could be anyone, could be anywhere in when I'm going to use them. They're not going to be in a specific file. So I could either make all of my global values static, restricted to a translation unit, but accessing them is going to have to be through functions that I've exposed through the header. Or I put these values in a global struct with a name that doesn't clash. I think I'm going to make the functions, because in reality, all of these things together, I'm going to want to, like I may want to just do something called pass test and just, or fail test, and then this will be generated in there, so I don't have to do it every time, and then just pass a string that has printf, or just the format and something in there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Void fail test. And what that's going to be is I'm going to fail the test with format and a variadic thing. which that's where it gets a bit tricky, because I want to call test print with the VA thing. I don't know if I can do that. Can I do that? First of all, FMT needs to be a const char pointer. I mean, I could do a VA start, get the list, and then pass the list to something else. And realistically, then I don't have a test print, I just have a fail test. But I do kind of want to have a test print. I have a test fail. So that means that I need a version of test print, which is actually test v print, that receives a VA list. Can you do that? Does that exist, where I just don't do this and it's the parent that does it? So then I can just do this and say VA list AP VA start AP FMT, and then test print, and then I need to do two things. Okay, let me just clean some stuff up. Okay, I need this, and I need test vprint. I think this is what I need, and a VA list AP. And realistically, this is going to be what I need there with this. Okay, and this can just be test vprint with FMT and AP. Yeah, which doesn't exist because I just need to declare it. Just do that for now, I'll tidy it up later. Okay, so that means that now when I go and I say test fail, I can do test print with test name of test dot fail line return with current test name, and then test print doesn't exist, sure. Right, and then here I can do another VA list AP VA start AP FMT. So it's great because I never really used this VA thing, and just having to do it like a bunch of time really consolidated the variadic aspect. Test vprint FMT AP. I will just forward to test vprint whatever I need to print. To be honest, because I'm making those myself, then I could just call them into two separate calls, so I don't have to just do. But I guess test fail also does another thing, which is test passed equals fail equals false. And actually I don't want to do that because I'm gonna have to do, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna do what I have here, right? What I should do is say failed tests, total failed test, total failed suites. Now I'm gonna have to state that says like the current, I'm gonna have to have a suite failed. Right, so I need this weird state thing, but let's come here. Test print, test end, where is my fail? Here. Test passed failed, total failed test plus plus, if suite, if it didn't fail, then now it is suite failed is true, and total suites, total failed suites plus plus. That way it only works if it's like it just transitions, so I don't count them multiple times. And I do test, name of the test, fail, then print whatever this is providing. So that should help a little bit on some of the stuff. It should actually let me do in here, I can say I'm going to do this for now. Press D. Okay, and total total test minus total failed tests. So the parameter, I have to register failed and reverse it, because when a test could pass by just not doing anything. If nothing's reported as a pass, it's only when it's explicitly failed, and I wouldn't be able to count it unless I would just like execute, and if at the end it just didn't do anything, then it would be a pass. Maybe I should do that. But I also expect the number of fail to be less than the number of pass, so I should probably do that. But anyways, failed tests, total tests, total suites minus total failed suites, total suites. And also this runs once at the end, so really 2 subscriptions. So 3 out of 3, 2 of 2, we'll do that for now. The thing that I had a problem with before was the idea that I can't say that a suite failed in the logs, because I would have, if it's the last test of the suite that fails, I have to go back all the way at the beginning to just change it. So either I buffer the entire thing, and it gets a bit messy because I might as well just have a structure for all the results and do stuff, or I don't know. Actually, the one thing that's not going to work there is that if I have a second assert that says false, then it's going to print it twice. It does not print it at all, which is very suspicious there. Really? Foo and bar. Is my assert thing? Oh, because I don't have the, I literally do nothing here. So this I can remove, and actually, oh, this is why, because this needs to become test fail, and I can remove all of this, and I just need the message. And here is going to be if not the expression, then I can say test fail. And I literally just say expected this to be true, and this is a hashtag expression, and I probably don't need a semicolon after my if. Run. I do need a semicolon here though. Okay, so this is what I was expecting. Like, I'm getting test bar fail twice. On top of that, I'm getting this there in the middle, which is really not what I was expecting. Oh, I guess because I'm running this twice and I'm flushing it every time, so I need to flush it only at the beginning of test fail, and this can be just slapped there just to start with on the formatting. Okay, so this is a bit better already. I don't know why this didn't get the, I guess this one gets flushed as well, so it thinks it's the last one, but it's not the last in the suite. Is it because I'm doing true? I think that's what it is. Okay, great. Now it works. And then this one doesn't do the right thing. Oh, because I removed it. Okay, so dumb. Okay. Okay, let me just get back to a correct place, which also means that I didn't remove it from somewhere it should have been removed, which is here. But that's the correct format that I have there. Everything. I got -3 tests, which is not necessarily correct. Don't know how I get a negative number. I never subtract it. But I guess if I get 0 test passed and I remove it in the wrong order, yeah. But let's ignore that for now. So this is actually the same test, and I want these two to be together rather than this one to be at the top there. So what I need is, I need to not print in test fail. I need to not print this. What I need to do is to, because I may want to do test fail a bunch of time. So what I should do is instead void test end, which is gonna finish the buffer. No, I'm gonna need void test start, which is gonna finish the buffer, and then I'm gonna test end, which is gonna first print this and finish the buffer. So I realize now that I don't really need to flush. If I'm gonna have a test end, I don't really need to flush the thing. So I'm not gonna need a test start, and I don't think I'll need to flush at the end anyways. So let's do that. And then the only thing that I'm missing is when I run the test, I need to add at the end here, test end, right? Redefinition. Wait, I'm a bit confused there. 65. Oh, test end is my global thing, not the, yeah. You know what, you're going to be called test, you're going to be called test flush. Okay. Test fail. And the thing is, test fail is just as test passed. And here, what's great is I can do, in here I can do a second string, which is going to be test passed. If it passed, it's okay. If it's not passed, it's fail. Test flush. Flush. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. I still need to figure that out. But so these two are together. So I expected blah, and I got 2 equals 2. That doesn't seem to be correct because blah. Test blah fail. Whoa. Everything is mumbled, jumbled in the wrong order there. I guess the problem is when I say flush previous, it's not going to write the thing properly. So that's going to be a problem. What I need to do is to be able to just send. So now I have separated the the messages for the asserts and the title, which means the title will have its own logic to well, you could technically have this own logic, really, not really. What I may want to do is reshuffle the buffer so that I can move. Yeah, I might do that. It's not great. It's going to be... Do I want to do that? Because I need to like print the title with the logic that I have in the buffer thing, and then print the rest with the same logic. But to know that logic means that I can't print this right away. And because I'm using test print, I'm not printing it right away. And this is not going to tell me if I'm the last or not just yet, because I need to run one more thing to know if I'm the last. So what I need to do is actually to just add that in there, and that needs to be added before I can do things. So yeah, I don't know. The only solution I can think of is like I let the buffer be filled up with all the messages from different asserts, and then when it's time to flush, I move all of that by how much I need, put that one in, and then do the flush. And that way it would just work. But I don't know if moving that memory around is great. The other thing I can think of is like I have a separate string that is just for that, or maybe flush previous buffer could have that prefix in there with the title in it. The problem with that is that I can't really know that ahead of time. There's also the fact that I'm always saying false. Well, I don't know if it's false. That should never run. There should be something at the start, which is void test start. And when I start the test, then I should do flush previous buffer with false, because if I'm starting a test, I know for sure that this is how it is, which should actually in there do nothing, because I didn't do here test start. Okay, which might not work because test start is not yeah, it's fine. Right, so now at least my tree of stuff is correct. It's just that my text is completely wrong because my first line is not the first line. I could reverse the order now because I'm browsing through the tokens. I would have to store all the tokens, and I'm modifying the string, so it's not great. So this is the end, and here what I want to do is add it to the buffer as the first one, and yeah, I'm just gonna have to do that. I'm just gonna have to just move stuff. I'm gonna do that. So this is gonna be test print, but not really. This is gonna be a bit more complicated. This is gonna be I need to measure the length of this because I don't know it. So I'm going to need another buffer, which is just going to be, you know, TMP here, which hopefully is smaller than that. And then I'm going to say sprintf here. Okay, that's going to give me a number, size, sure. And here I'm going to do, I don't know if you can copy from the same and just like move data across like that, or if it's going to start overriding. I don't know if you need like another buffer to basically say I need to write this into there. Maybe I need an A buffer and a B buffer. But I'm also at buffer position because I could be writing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I could just move everything. I need to do like a mem copy, but the other way around. C string move bytes to the right by X. Yeah, that's the problem, is this is the shift. And then I'm going to try to write on the other thing. Mem move. Maybe I do that. Shift is how many is how a shift. Maximum is the size, but positive shift to exceed number of characters available. I don't really need to do the number of characters available. Mem move. That's the destination, that's the source, and that's how many. Let's try that. Destination is going to be buffer plus size. Source, buffer, amount, size. Let's not forget to move buffer position by size once we're done. Okay, and then finally I just need to do a s. You know what, I'm going to do mem copy in here into buffer of problem with this is that I'm going to get a null terminated thing in there. That's going to be a bit annoying, so I need to make sure I don't copy the I need to make sure I do size -1. I think that's the idea. I'm actually going to do -1 here. That way I move everything correctly. Okay. The source is going to be TMP and the size is going to be size because I've already done size -1. So that's going to move everything in the right place. I'm not calling test stuff. Okay, let's see. Okay. So once I start to flush, it starts causing issues. Now it's possible that I'm not moving the correct number of items. Yeah, I'm not moving the correct numbers. So I guess what I could do, because mem move is just you go there from there, but how many do you move, right? And the how many you move is the full size of the buffer, so 496 minus the size. That's just not good. We're gonna do buffer position minus buffer. That's how much there is in there. That's what I should move. I still fail. The thing is, I commented it out and it failed anyways. So let's see. Moving the buffer position is not going to change anything. The mem copy could cause an issue. Damn, what is really causing the issue here? Because the mem move... What? Oh, the sprintf is causing the issue. Current test name. Is it the -1 that's causing the issue? Don't see why. No, that's not that. So could it be current test name is not set? Not really. Test passed? No, that's fine. Oh, wait. So stupid. Okay. All right. I was not even... It's weird that it let me do it, but I guess sprintf is just very generous. Okay, great. The only thing I'm missing is a line return at the end of this, which means size actually gives me the actual length and not the one with the 0 at the end. So now I'm getting something that is, well, exactly what I wanted, right? Test blah fail, expected false to be true, expected blah to be true, blah blah blah, and then I've got this like formatted thing. Now I do want to go where I get a negative number here. When I do test end, I do total test minus total failed tests. Now total tests seems to be 0 because I failed 3, and and I'm getting -3. Although when I print total test here, I am getting 3. So unless total failed test is 6, which it can be, and it definitely will be, because this is the problem here. So here what I need to do is to say if test passed, because there can be more than one market failed, okay? And then put it there. I think that's correct. So if it passed and it's supposed to fail, set it to false and upgrade the thing. 3 out of 3. Now, failed tests, I should get 0 instead of same thing here really, like they all failed, so I shouldn't be getting like 1 out of 2, and I should definitely not be getting 3 out of 3. So when I said fail, maybe I should reset test passed at the beginning. To set it to true by default. That's better. And I think the other one is when I do suite here, I'm gonna do a suite start here. I'm gonna get a bunch of functions, it's gonna be a bit better. And put it right there. And I do need to get suite passed true. It's not suite passed, is it? Suite failed. Interesting. Okay, total suites. Where is my total? Where do I increase my total thing? Total tests. Might as well put it in test start. Okay, 0 test and -1 for my suites, which there's 0 suites because I'm not calling suite start. Okay, so this is let's make it clearer here. This is kind of where I want it to be, so I'm going to end here. But I have the name of my test that can be provided, a function that is completely arbitrary, a bunch of asserts that I'm going to expand into assert empty, assert number of items, assert strings, which will each provide an explicit message of what happened and why it failed. Maybe even at some point provide the line number, because I think that you can get the line number as a macro, maybe even the file name. And then a suite is going to be named like that, and then you can just go have a little tree, and then when you have like tons of tests, you'll be like scroll through, you get a report at the end, and that's it. And then later, maybe tomorrow, there will be some flags like, hey, I only want to run the suite bar and foo, maybe with a comma here, right? Or just bar, or I just want to run the test that has the name, you know, blah something, right? And what this should do is that it should literally just set a global value, which is like, here's the suites and the tests that we're expecting to run. And then when I go here, I'll just put this function in the conditional, saying if the current suite is not whitelisted or there's none enabled, then don't run it. And then that way I can just control and do like sub settings. And then the last thing I probably need to do there is at the end of the main, I should probably do a return test end, and test end would just basically say if the total number of tests is not the same as the, well, if there is more than one failed test, then it returns something else than 0. So that way, if I ever put that into a CI, I can just look at the return code. So this I do want to basically move it into a single header file that I can use in different things. I was running a lot of tests in my message pack, and then it got a bit out of hand. It wasn't like super tidy, so I could start using that. And I do want to run tests for the bar as well, which has been running for like 2 hours. It's still working fine. So I think it's not as unstable as what I thought. It is running in debug mode, which I know that in debug mode and with the address sanitizer on top of that, I know that some stuff happens where some structs are initialized to 0 automatically when you run in targets. When you disable all that stuff and you optimize it, then it does something different. But yeah, so yeah, I'm happy with the bar. And that's it. All right, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna use my actual functioning shortcut to just switch to face cam. Ooh, that works. And then I didn't have to switch to OBS for that. And then that's it. I'll come back tomorrow. All right, bye.